Like if this was planned, this was part of it. I mean, why not get out ahead of it?
I don't know why they wouldn't have done it from the beginning of training camp. Been like, hey, look, Tom's 45. Here's the timeline that he's going to participate and be around the team this year. But we obviously have every intention of him, starting week 1.
Right.
Could have put a lot of this
does
speculation to rest.
Does it? Isn't it dumbfounding sometimes in a situation where you watch people fumble things about, make you wonder. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on PR and communication, and it's a huge part of it. Now, there's always them trying to withhold information, right? That's key into doing some things. But the NFL may be one of the most transparent when it comes to like on the field stuff, right? I mean, fans are at these practices. Well, it's not like college coaches who shut the whole thing down and no one can see what your product is.
Right.
You're going to go play in a preseason in front of the whole world and show them some of your stuff, right?
Right.
It's dumbfounding sometimes to see them, trip and fumble along with something like this. The only reason I would suspect that that's the case is because this wasn't planned. This kind of was sprung on them, and yet they're trying to tell you that it was.
Yeah, maybe. They're doing a little backpedaling.
I don't know.
TJ, they should have just hired RES Consulting. Like, we could have figured this out and gotten to the bottom of this.
Everything out,
You know what I mean?
Plus, we got Ryan Leaf now. He's an extension of RES Consulting, so now we have someone who really understands the ins and outs and the operations of the game. And I mean,
in this moment, you got the most scrutinized, most focused on, most microscopic quarterback or player in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
And this news comes out today, and it's been planned. Yet it's breaking news, right? So I don't buy it. I respect the hell out of Todd Bowles, but head coaches a lot of times when they're sent up in front of these press conferences, Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, some of these press conferences, you just got to be like, the dude's just saying what Haslam's like telling him to, this is the party line, this is where we're at, and the Glazer family's like, hey, general manager's like, Todd, right? This just came up. Let's pretend, or let's make it look like this was a planned deal. I don't really have an answer for you when he's going to be back. We believe it's going to be this time, but let's just go with that. And now this is going to be a constant question asked him now every single day until Tom Brady ultimately comes back.
Right, but he's not coming back for like another 10 days.
Right. And you could have been so far out in front of this, like beginning of training camp. Like, hey, just letting you know, like in between our first and second preseason games, Tom wasn't. We weren't planning on playing Tom in those games. He's going to be out because of some personal things. This has been discussed. I mean, this would have been exhausted and talked out, and allowed Tom to answer his own questions. Now everybody else is there left to answer these questions, when it doesn't even involve them, really.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. Obviously, we hope everything's fine. Maybe
yes,
it's
of
just
course.
Maybe it's like what Rick said. Tom has been talking about work-life balance for years now. So maybe it's just, I got to take this time away. It's not really going to affect me from a football standpoint. I feel good. My arm feels good. I've got a good rap sheet going with the guys, and so let's just give the young kids some time. But we're all speculating at this point.
If he feels comfortable with the work he's gotten in, of course. I mean, also to his point around Ndamukong Suh and JPP, having not signed with anybody else yet. When these guys get a little bit older, and they know how to prepare their bodies and get ready for camp,
right?
They
don't need training camp.
They'll maybe take the time and get ready the way they end and not get brutally beat down in training camp.
Yeah.
So they can go and get brutally beat down in the 17-game season that's about to happen. Maybe both of those guys on the defensive side of the football are conveniently signed right before, Don't forget, they only played 3 preseason games. It's not a preseason game and then right into the season. It's a preseason game, a week, almost like a bye week, and then into the season.
Right.
So that's a change. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe Tom's feeling that way, wants to spend more time. All of those things are there. And he is not... There's no necessity for him to tell us any of that, right? It's not.
Nope.
There's nothing. It's private. It's personal. I understand that.
I mean, I'd like to know.
Of course you'd like to know. As we've seen this become 2 segments of our show now, everybody wants to know, right? Where is the greatest quarterback of all time? And is he going to be ready to go against the likes of the Dallas Cowboys, the New Orleans Saints, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Green Bay Packers
Look,
in
it
the
would
first 4
be
weeks?
awful, guys. It would be terrible if he had to miss week 1. It would really, it would be such a shame. But I want him to take as much time as he needs just to make sure mind, body, and soul.
Take care of him.
Right. Take care of you. And if you've got to miss week 1, so be it. Come back a week 2.
This takes a nice chunk out of the pie.
It does.
Settle
It
down
takes a
just a
large
little
chunk
bit.
out of the pie if Mr. Brady can't go, right?